If you would like some new ideas for how to use die cuts on your projects, I hope you'll watch along with this video. I'm sharing 5 ideas for how to use one die cut, from very basic to 2 techniques I've never even tried before myself. I'm excited to share them with you. Let's get started. The die cut I'm using on all 5 of my cards that I'm sharing comes from this bundle right here. It's actually this overlay die right here. So keep in mind, you can do these techniques with an overlay die like this one, die cuts, or any others as well. So I just wanted to share some ideas from, of course, the very basic to really stepped up. So my first idea is I just cut all of this from white. I put white on white and I thought it turned out beautifully. Sometimes we overcomplicate things and this is just so simple. I pulled all the tags here from my tag box. It's one of my favorite tips, my most popular tips on my YouTube channel, that I keep tags organized by occasion and already prepared so I can pull them out and make quick cards. Now my second one is just to cut from designer paper. Super easy, but you get some fun color variation in there. Looks like I did a lot of work. All I did was create that die cut, add a bit of ribbon, and my tag on top. Now these next 3 involve a little bit of technique. This one is very simple as well. I just used my blending brushes on some cardstock to add a little bit of color variation. And I love how this one turned out. We have some lighter areas and some darker areas with the greens and the browns. So that's a great idea. I do recommend with any kind of detailed die cut like this one, doing that blending before you do your cutting, because if it gets a little flimsy like certain areas of this one do, it's going to be easier to do that blending before you cut. Now these next 2 are some pretty cool techniques that I look forward to playing around with more in the future, because these are the 2 I have never tried before. So this one, I actually cut this out from watercolor paper, and then I added color using my watercolor pencils. To do this, I turned my pencil sideways so that I wouldn't damage the actual die cut. So I was coloring more with the side of the pencil, and I just did this in certain areas with the brown, the red, the yellow, and the orange until I had color across most of the die cut. And then, because I had watercolor paper and watercolor pencils, I started spritzing water over the top with a water spritzer. And I'll pull this up close so that hopefully you can see, but those colors started to bleed and move. And whereas when I started, I had some pretty harsh lines from the pencil because I hadn't been coloring very carefully, it all just started to blend together. So this is a really fun technique that I'd like to play around with more. Maybe I can share more about that in a video in the future. And last but not least, I thought this one just turned out simply stunning. So what I did with this one was I cut out the die cut first out of cardstock. Keep in mind when you cut these out of heavy cardstock, especially with detailed ones, they're going to be a lot easier to work with than if you're using a thinner paper or designer paper, for instance. I did want to share a couple other tips, and I'm going to mention them while I'm thinking about them. If you get tired of poking all the little individual pieces out of these detailed die cuts, don't forget about, that's my old one. Here's the one I use most of the time, my roller die brush. I have a video with some my best tips about die cutting. I'm going to link to that in the video description below. It talks about that. It also talks about several options for how to attach these detailed die cuts to your projects without any headache. So take a look at that if you're interested. What I did with this one, I used some early espresso cardstock. If you look carefully, you'll see some bits of that dark brown peeking through. And what I wanted on this was just, I wanted those beautiful metallics that I love for the fall season, but you can use cards like this throughout the year. And I wanted the variation, and then I wanted some of those metallics. So what I did, I used a blending brush And this one appears not to have any color on it. I used it with my Versamark ink pad. So I inked up just as I would with a normal blending brush. And then, because the Versamark is sticky, it's thicker and sticky, I did more of a blotting application method instead of like swirling, which is what I would do with normal blending brushes. I didn't want to damage that die cut. So I did more of a blotting to apply that Versamark ink to most of the die cut. I did not apply it to all, as you can see some of those areas that did not get embossing powder on them. Then I brought in my gold embossing powder and I sprinkled it over certain areas, but not all of them. After that, I shook it off. I cleaned up and put away my gold embossing powder. I did not heat set anything. I brought out my copper embossing powder, did the same thing, and I made sure to cover the rest of it with the copper so that all of the ink was covered in some powder. I shook that off as I would normally for my embossing, heat set that, and we get this beautiful result right here. So just some fun ideas for how to use overlay, dies, and any die cuts. You can use these techniques, like I said, on any die cuts. Is it me, or are fresh peaches like one of the best things on the planet? Just before I started this video, I ate one of our very first peaches off of our peach tree in the backyard. Just this year, I came up with this plan. I've been doing more and more gardening, and I discovered several years ago one of the best ways to get my family involved in the garden and excited about the garden was to plant fruit. And specifically, we started with strawberries. I love to see my family walk through the backyard, run out to the garden because they're in search of berries. And basically everyone does this. So I've started trying to get more fruit in the backyard, but I came up with this plan this year for how we can hopefully have fresh fruit all summer long in the backyard. So we have lots of things planted now. They're not all producing fruit yet, but I have this peach tree that I got along the side of the road several years ago. One of our neighbors, I think, must take their peach pits and plant them, and then they put trees out for sale for a few dollars each. You can try this with if you want to with your peach pits. But anyway, I bought a tree for a couple of bucks. It's been in the backyard for I'm not sure how many years, maybe 4 years now. Last year, this tree had like 6 peaches on it, and I was so excited about it. And by the time the season came for the peaches to be ripe, there was only one left. I was really sad. It had spots on half of it, but I ate the other half, and it was amazing. So this year, this tree had tons of peaches on in the spring, and I was worried that they would fall off like they did last year. We wouldn't have very many. So a lot of them did fall off, but we still have, I don't know, I bet there's like 70 peaches on this tree or something that we're so excited about. A lot of them do have spots on them again, but it's only on the skin. So I'm like, okay, we peel that off, we carry on, we eat these amazing peaches because they're delicious. So I just thought I would share that. It's easier to grow some of these things than you would think. We're like in the northern part of the US and we can grow peaches. Um, in certain years they might frost and we might not get a whole lot if it frosts in the springtime when they're blooming. But anyway, I encourage you, grow some yummy things in your backyard. And it's a great way if you have kids or grandkids around, like great way to get kids involved is to plant some berries or some kind of fruit because they will absolutely love it. Thanks for being here so much, friend. I hope you'll be back again next time when I'll be here helping you to hand make with love.